Here are this week's PoolTogether community podcast highlights. Tell me more about that data that you're collecting, that you're curating.
Yeah, so last month we launched our V2 update called Milky Way. And as part of that update, in addition to changes to our smart contract infrastructure, we also added an indexer. And basically, the indexer powers all of our data APIs. So we're listening to all of the contracts that we support, all of the protocols we support, every single token transfer on chain, and we update data for all of these aspects with every block. So, for example, someone zaps into PoolTogether or even just uses it natively without using portals, we are indexing that. So we'll know like when the deposit happened, how many withdrawals there were, which day was most popular, which vaults were most popular, or currently with V4, which pool is most popular on which network. And we provide, token images and contract addresses and prices and APYs and all of that stuff. And we like to think of this as kind of our residual capability. Like SpaceX didn't seek to launch, Starlink satellites. Like their goal is to have a colony on, Mars. But they figured, well, we have this capacity. They call it residual capability. We might as well use it and launch satellites for Starlink. That's kind of how I see our data API. It's not necessarily our core product, but we need all of that data in order to facilitate Zaps. So we might as well offer it, to the community to use, to build their own products, not even necessarily related to portals or to Zaps or anything. And we also have, super fast account endpoints, returning, balances of all 35,000 tokens across all 9 networks we currently support in around 200 milliseconds, which would take significantly longer using on-chain calls, using balance of, and so on and so forth.
Could you give me an example of who would use that data component of the API?
Yeah, I mean, we have like protocols like Urine and StakeDAO using us just to get data about their positions, like their vaults and stuff like that. But we also have wallets like XDeFi using us to get balances for all of these exotic tokens that we have tracked, like LP tokens, vaults, interest-bearing tokens. And then, dashboards would be a great use case for this as well.
Can you explain it to somebody who's not technical about how does it happen? How is this safe? That sort of thing, because it's so magical.
Yeah, I mean, I guess basically what we've been shilling to date at Portals is the whole ease of use, account abstraction, gasless transaction thing. And we kind of encapsulate this into one-click DeFi. But, in the grand scheme of things, we want to make everything in DeFi easy. So we want devs to be able to access that API and be able to create these apps as easily as anyone can on our front end.
What's the thing that you're building?
Yeah, so it's the Portals Smart Wallet, which is basically a programmable wallet. Because I'm sure, as you guys know, EOAs or externally owned accounts, like the ones that we have with our seed phrases, they're pretty limited. We can't do basically any programmability with them. So the Portal Smart Wallet enables us to do things like manage lending positions, looping strategies, leverage positions, stuff like that. Whereas with an EOA, you might go onto like GMX and then you'll first deposit some tokens. And then maybe you'll take out some leverage on a position. But you should be able to do that from a different chain using assets on a different chain all in one click. So that's kind of what the Smart Wallet enables. The thing with Zaps at the moment is that it only works with tokenized positions. So like the PoolTogether V5 vaults are tokenized, so that's fine. But if you want to open a lending position for somebody, that's not something we can do at the moment. And that's where the Smart Wallet comes in. So basically, it's very similar to like a safe wallet, except that it also supports ownership by other smart contract wallets as well. So basically, the idea is just like you said, shortcuts and programmability. The idea is that we can, DCA into a position, like buy tokens every 2 weeks, for example, for you, or we can repay a loan if your collateralization ratio is getting too low, for example. And that's all stuff that we can't do currently. So yes, it is kind of a new product, but also kind of no, because it still leverages everything we already built.
How do you see Portals moving forward? What does that look like as far as growth, partnerships for Portals? How do we see Portals win the day?
Yeah, so it's multifaceted here. So our current front end is basically an MVP or a minimum viable product, in that it's basically a swap modal, and you kind of have to know what you want to do when you get there. But we actually have in the pipeline a completely revamped front end. It's going to be full of exploration features. You're going to be able to get a lot more info about opportunities, see which ones are trending, see which ones are popular. Basically, all of the information you could possibly need presented in a very user-friendly manner. So obviously, we do want to get as many people using our front end as possible, and not necessarily just for zapping in and out, but also for exploring the DeFi ecosystem, learning about new protocols when they launch, or looking at how the pool is performing when there's perhaps a perceived vulnerability, or like there's a depeg or something. And then ultimately, you'll be able to take action on that if you want to, because we'll obviously still have the swapping and the zapping and all that. And then, on the builder side, we'd like to attract as many builders as possible, obviously. But our ideal integrations would be things like wallets, dashboards, protocols like PoolTogether.
Thanks for listening. You can download the full episode of this week's Pool Together Community Podcast on your favorite podcast app.